wide receiver 2 search?
I would say we are right in the middle of it. And so you'll see a lot of guys in today. You'll see 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of guys that are really battling. I've been really impressed with Olamide.
I'm not where I want to be, and I'm going to keep building every single day to make sure I'm where I want to be.
I like him, man. Just as I haven't watched the tape yet, but just how he carries himself. He looks like a pro. It looks like he has an edge. Look like he trusts in his ability a lot.
Hot day down in Miami for Washington Commanders, Miami Dolphins joint practices. Jayden Daniels lights it up in red zone drills. Terry McLaurin battles it out with an old friend and teammate. And Dan Quinn says we're pretty much having a job fair at the wide receiver 2 position. This is Rambling with Rio Robinson. Let's get to it.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Today is Thursday, August 15th, and Washington conducted its second joint practice session with a contending team from the AFC East. We did it last week, slinging in the rain versus the New York Jets. We weren't able to find our footing and get our mojo. We went down today to Baptist Health Training Complex in Miami Gardens, Florida, to practice with the Miami Dolphins, the greatest show when the sun's out. Newly paid $53 million a year quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, number 1 top 100 voted Tyreek Hill player in the league. We didn't exactly see their team at full strength, but that's a contending playoff team. Regardless, it's going to be smoke. For context, before we get into all this, Jalen Waddle, I do not believe, practiced today. Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, and Jordan Poyer, 3 very important members of that Miami secondary. I don't believe they are out there. But before we get into that, this episode and all episodes are brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. They will be sponsoring and powering this channel through the 2024 season. Fastest payouts in the industry. 125% match bonus of up to $2,000 for your first 3 deposits. BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, where it all begins. But let's get to it. The talk of the town in Miami on Thursday morning, Washington's rookie quarterback, Jayden Daniels, absolutely looks the part. According to David Furones of the Sun Sentinel, Omar Kelly of the Miami Herald, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels lit up the Miami Dolphins defense in red zone drills. He threw 5 touchdowns in said drills, including 2 to Terry McLaurin, beating his former teammate and buddy Kendall Fuller once, and then Kader Kohou later. That you love to hear. I love to hear our guys getting to it off the early. I love to hear rookies flashing, still looking as advertised. Omar Kelly said he's off to a hot start. They're very impressed by the guy. I seen Kendall Fuller when asked after practice. He was like, he's a very confident guy. He said, well, all you got to do is search on Twitter and see on YouTube. You see that he checked the play. He plays with confidence. All glowing reviews on our starting quarterback so far. He did throw his 2nd and 3rd team period interceptions of the entire summer. Yes, there are guys out here throwing 2 to 3 interceptions per practice. Jayden has thrown 3 in team drills all summer. 2 came today, and both of them did not fall at the feet of Jayden Daniels. Terry McLaurin slipped on one to close 11 drills out, and Kendall Fuller picked it on the slip. And on the first interception, it was bobbled and knocked out of Cole Turner's hands, who couldn't corral the pass. So I'm not mad at that. I know one of my biggest pet peeves as a sports fan is that interceptions count as interceptions when it's completely not on the quarterback. But it is what it is, man. I just love to hear it. Like a tip pass interception, even if he was throwing an interception that it was his fault, this is when I want you to throw those interceptions. But Jayden is as advertised. We know Jayden's going to do Jayden. Jayden's been Jayden since he stepped here. He's looked good at minicamp. He's looked good at rookie minicamp. He's looked good at OTAs. He's taken this job by the horns. He's won over the locker room. He's won over the fan base. He's checked all the boxes for us so far. I don't think we're going to see much of him this Saturday. Mariota's out. Sam Hartman's out. We just picked up Trace McSorley. We have Jeff Driscoll on the roster. I think at most we see 1/4 of Jayden Daniels, and he's out of there. And we're going to see a whole bunch of Jeff Driscoll and a little pinch of Trace McSorley because he already knows Cliff Kingsbury's offense. He's been here to participate in it. But I'm looking at Washington notes from Washington. Thank you to all the Miami Dolphins fans or all the Miami Dolphins coverage at practice today. They absolutely held us down. Jayden in the offense, they didn't have the same success when they went to 11 on 11s, but they were moving. This is a good team. This is a good football team, guys. This is a very good football team. This is a team that has Super Bowl in its sights, despite the fact that they have a 24-year playoff win drought. I know what it's like to have a playoff win drought. We haven't won one here since 2005, so we can relate in those days. Omar Kelly said, for those Washington fans out there, Jayden Daniels did carve up the defense during red zone work, but when they went to full field work, he was neutralized a bit. The arm talent is legit. His end of practice interception of Kendall Fuller was a good throw, but the wide receiver slipped. Quarterback continuing to check boxes. It's been an overall observation from everybody who's seen the guy so far. But let's talk about the bigger news out of Washington today. Dan Quinn, when speaking to the media, openly tells the media and fans, we are currently in the middle of a search for wide receiver 2. A lot of players are in the mix. He mentioned a good camp so far by Olamide Zaccheaus. So all the fans that have been getting mad and infighting with fans for being concerned with the development and progress of Jahan Dotson last year and what we've seen up to this point this year, and for those of us who had a question about why he was playing so long into the first preseason game and playing with quarterback 3 Jeff Driscoll, we got some context on that today because Dan Quinn comes out and tells us they're in the middle of a competition and a search for wide receiver 2. We're having a freaking job search to see who Terry's running mate and dancing partner is going to be in the wide receiver room so far. So hope that answers that for everybody who says guys are hating, guys are wishing unwell on players on our team, yada, yada, yada. Hold guys accountable. Even Jahan Dotson is accountable. When speaking with the media after practice, Jahan literally came out and said, I'm not where I need to be right now. I'm trying to get right. He's trying to get back to it, but he says, I'm not where I need to be as a football player right now. If the player can take accountability, maybe it's time for fans to join him and do the same. I love to hear Terry mixing it up with Kendall Fuller in practice today. Terry got him a couple times in red zone work. Kendall gets him back when Terry falls. We'll see y'all on Saturday, my boy. Good to see Kendall falling on his feet and falling into a good situation after leaving Washington this offseason. Mikey Sanders still, per Mitchell Tisler, Mikey Sanders still might already be the best cornerback on this team. He plays so smart. Back-to-back plays for him. Dolphins ran a reverse. He stayed home and got a tackle for loss. Then Tyreek Hill ran a fake reverse, and he stayed home and forced Tua to check it down. Also had a pass breakup on Tyreek in the end zone. So we got our second-round slot corner. Doesn't have all the size in the world. Has the confidence to go mano-a-mano with the best receiver, the hardest receiver to defend in the entire league. We love to hear it. Shout out to Emmanuel Forbes. He had a pass breakup today as well. When you don't hear a cornerback's name being called in practice, it is usually a testament of he's doing his job. He's doing his job. You're not hearing much from him. Tua missed a deep pass to Tyreek Hill, who I believe beat Benjamin St. Juice on this play, put it outside of his outstretched arms. On the other field, Emmanuel Ogbah had a tackle for a loss. I believe that was against Austin Eckler, blowing up a run. It started to get chippy out there. Andre Jones Jr., second-year player, tried to headbutt someone and his helmet came off. Then we had a little dust up, word to Jack Del Rio. A little dust up between Liam Eichenberg and Deron Payne. Then we have a big hit from our safety, Tyler Owens, on Durham Smythe for a breakup. Tyler Owens is going to make this roster. You heard it from Albert Breer. You've heard his name all camp. He's flashed all offseason freak of nature, one of the freakier build archetypes that we have on this roster right now. He is a sideline to sideline, instinctive, athletic ass player, while not getting on the field immediately as a safety, will 100% carve himself a niche in the special teams unit of this team. Him and Jeremy Reeves going to go crazy on the punt team while we're figuring out where exactly he fits into the lineup. I love it, man. I love it. Oh, we got an update from the kicker position. You know, we released Ramiz Ahmed this week, so it's the Riley Patterson show, and it's not been a good show so far. It's been a little bit of a dud. Riley Patterson had a good day of practice, y'all. We're going to give him his just due because signs are pointing up again. We're getting a pulse. Riley Patterson just had probably his best period of camp. He went 3 for 3, made all 3 kicks from 51, 51, and 56. We exhale. Riley Patterson is capable of kicking a field goal past 48 yards. A Dolphins fan near Sam Fortier said, man, we need that guy at kicker. Fun time to be at an NFL training camp. You love to see it, but biggest observation that I've seen thus far for Washington Commanders Dolphins training camp, Washington held its own today. Washington absolutely held his own today. They didn't go out there and get bullied by the Miami Dolphins. The Jets kind of worked us last week. It was in the rain. We didn't get the most look. We didn't really get to see Jayden truly get a look and work. We had a scab offensive line in the rain, and they pretty much limited us to nothing but screen passes and shit so far. But we got work in today. We got some valuable work in today in Miami. We love to see it. Preseason week number 2 is in Miami 2 days from now. And Brandon Coleman had on shoulder pads today at camp. He did not participate in the drills. I don't believe he participated in any team, but it is definitely encouraging seeing him out there in shoulder pads because that's the guy we hope is starting at left tackle for this team when the season begins. Kendall Fuller says Jayden just looks like a pro, the way he carries himself. Who else is getting absolutely hyped on a Thursday morning, hearing positive reports and glowing endorsements about our quarterback? You love to see it, man. You love to see it. Oh, and speedy recovery. We hope Bo Bauer of the Commanders is all right. He was carted off the field during practice today. One of our linebackers. Hate to see that for an undrafted player. It's almost like an immediate exit from the team at that point. They weren't at full strength. I want to repeat that Miami did not have Jalen Waddle, Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, and Jalen Ramsey out there, but we still got work in. Work is still work, and I'm glad to hear my boys out there competing with an amazing football team that they've assembled there in Miami. Mike McDaniel, when talking about Dan Quinn, had a lot to say yesterday when he was asked about Dan Quinn and the impact he had working with him. They asked him, quote unquote, the last 2 years you've had joint practices against people you've had relationships with for a long time. Dan Quinn's tomorrow. Just thoughts on why you remain so close with him after all these years. You've been pretty open about the impact he's had on your career when you were going through some of your own personal struggles. Can you just touch on the importance of Dan Quinn in your relationship and why that's important in your life? Mike McDaniel goes on a long blurb praising Dan Quinn. He says, absolutely. I'm kind of an old guy, so there are a good amount of coaches in the NFL that I do have relationships with. Dan Quinn has been a big influence. Dan Quinn has been a big influence on my career, not only from what I learned under him from a head coaching perspective and just the way he looked at really anything team related and how the culture that he really instilled, how to set the tonality of the building each and every day by example. Those things I really got from Dan Quinn, and I'm forever grateful for that. And on top of that, from a whole life perspective, just on my journey, it just so happened that it was under the leadership that I had a crossroads in my life. And to have somebody that supports you, that pushes you in the direction of, no, you can, that believes in you and that decides on its own accord that you're worth investing in and believing in, how big of a deal is that? It's everything. It wouldn't be honest to say I'd be here if it weren't for Dan Quinn, along with a ton of other people. But I don't know where my career would have gone if I didn't have the fortune of being under his leadership. So I'm really excited to see him. Absolute praising, admiring, and gratitude Mike McDaniel showed Dan Quinn. And it speaks to what we've heard, been told, and seen every day since we hired Dan Quinn. Everybody loves Dan Quinn, the human. They believe in him as a culture builder, as a leader, and a phenomenal human. Great day for Washington in Miami. Held it down. Now let's get through this preseason game with no injuries. Jayden, more boxes checked. We'll probably hear early next week that he's the starting quarterback for week 1 and beyond for this football team. Mikey Sanders still leader of the defense already. Didn't hear much about the linebackers, so I imagine they're doing their thing today. I know they had their handful with Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane. The receivers are going at it with Kendall Fuller and company, even though the Dolphins are down a couple members of the secondary. For the most part, that's all we got from today's joint practice. Washington went out there and held their own. So if you want to hold anything from today's practice, we didn't go out there and embarrass the family. We went out there, looked like we belong. We got scrappy with them. Practice got hot as hell. They took it inside, called it as soon as team drills started after about a play or two. As soon as the Kendall Fuller interception happened, they called it a goddamn day. We will see them on the field 7 p.m. on Saturday at Hard Rock Stadium. Another landmark of the Washington Commanders offseason is in the books. One more week of preseason after our game coming up this Saturday, and Washington is going to close out the preseason next week versus the New England Patriots. We will not be doing joint practice with them, unfortunately, which I hate because it would have been really nice to see Drake May versus Jayden Daniels in a practice setting. But that's all I got for right now. Thank you again for our sponsor, BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, for powering this video and all streams through the duration of the 2024 NFL season. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Commander Rio, out.
Michael Vick here at BetUS.com. Get it all. Huge bonuses, great odds, a race book, live in-game betting, and a casino. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.